Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Matt Horn
is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, neighbor. You see anything weird outside your house, you tell me, all right?
Hey, Matt. This is Zarah Mahler. I play Abby in The Wretched, which is a new horror film recently released on May 1st of this year, 2020, or lack thereof a year. And I need you to call me back right away. It is imperative that you see this film. It is a fresh callback with a modern twist, a dark fairy tale, absolutely fantastic, suspenseful, exciting new horror film. I'm just going to go ahead and say that I'm going to require you to watch that as soon as possible, with the lights off. Please get back to me, otherwise you'll have a creepy, naked, frightening witch woman stalking you in your apartment. Talk soon, bye!
So on the line we have Zarah Mahler talking to us from... Where are you talking to us from, Zarah?
Los Angeles, California.
Is that the locked down Los Angeles?
Yes, talking to you from my house, of course.
Wonderful. Obviously we are talking about COVID-19. What's it been like for you, Zarah?
Oh, God. You know, up and down, I think it's impossible to move through this thing in one state. That's what I've learned. I'm sort of an introvert by nature. It's really easy for me to be a hermit, sometimes to my own detriment. So having this time and space where everything has just sort of stopped and being quiet and still, for me personally, has been an opportunity to really sort of take a look at what my priorities have been lately and sort of redefine what I'm doing. And there's been a lot of peace in it for me. I've been able to see a lot of silver lining and just the effect it's having on the planet. You know, that said, I think it's really near impossible to not take on some of the stress, to not feel, at least on a level of empathy with all of humankind, the fact that we're in this together and there is so much pain and suffering, to not feel that. So for me, you know, I've just really tried to be present and sort of awake in the stillness, if that makes sense. I'm taking the social distancing extremely seriously. Essentially, I haven't left my house for the last 2 months. I actually ended up in the emergency room twice since this pandemic has started. But other than that, yeah, it's been all about doing our part.
I've been asking a question for the last 10 podcasts or so this shows you how busy it's been for me, which is surprising, actually, given what's going on. When this is all over, we presume it's going to be 6 months at least. When this is all over, what do you think the state of the industry is going to be like?
You know, I think it is so impossible at this point to anticipate. I don't think things are ever going to go back to normal. Whatever it was, I don't anticipate ending up in the same place. I think in some respect, the industry, the entire world is going to be changed forever by this unprecedented event that we've all lived through together. But I think things are going to be different. I try not to, you know, Matt, I try not to slip into any sort of like negative fantasy or future trip, because I really think, like you said, 6 months at least. You know, I think we could be looking at a longer period of time moving through this. So I try to sort of just like acknowledge that I really don't know what it's going to look like, and that's okay. That has to be okay.
Are you fully stocked up?
Yeah, we're pretty good. I've had some luck with having food delivered. Yeah, we're stocked up. We're not panicking.
Well, the reason why I've got you here is to talk about The Wretched.
Yeah.
And obviously it's come out on the 1st of May in the US, and it came out here on the 8th, so it's a week later. You can actually see it in the US at drive-thrus, would you believe?
Yeah, I know. That's been so crazy. Who would have thought? that drive-ins would make a comeback.
Well, I do have to mention this because it's sort of the running gag with this film, I suppose. And it's not just me who said it, the director and writers have said it, so I can get away with saying it. Would you believe me if I told you it's the highest box office opening of that week?
This is one thing I'll say, Matt. I've always had faith in this film. I've always, from the very start, when my manager first sent me this script, I knew that there was something special about this project. But I don't think any of us anticipated that we would ever carry a title like that, because it's rare. It's a rarity as an indie horror film to land in that type of a spot. But yeah, they've kept us up to date. Our little Wretched cast and crew family is actually very close, and we have a group text thread that we all communicate with each other regularly. So our producers and creatives have been keeping us up to date on our box office success amidst this pandemic.
Which is sort of amusing, given the fact that it was the only film that was released that week.
Right, of course.
I'll kickstart off this with an easy question. Do you think there should be a sequel?
I think sequels are tricky, and I'll preface this with, I am a horror genre fan. I love the genre. I'm also picky. And I think sequels can be done the right way, and I would trust the Pierce brothers, above many others, to produce a successful, smart, interesting sequel. But I think it's really tricky. I think sometimes that's where, once horror films, or any films, start to sort of like trickle into franchise land, sometimes you lose something. But I don't know, those two men, I shouldn't call them boys, Brett and Drew Pierce, they're smart, and they have such a specific, driven vision. And so, I think they could do it.
What's the general plotline surrounding the film?
The Wretched Part 1?
Yeah, the Wretched Part 1.
Our protagonist is a teenage boy who is staying in sort of a lakeside community with his father while his parents are going through a divorce, or I think it might be recently after a divorce. And he starts to notice strange behavior from the neighbors next door, specifically my character, Abby, and the disappearance of children. And basically, I don't think I'm spoiling anything here. We all know it's a witch movie. Comes to understand that the next door neighbor is either possessed by a witch or is a witch, and starts to sort of uncover what that is and try and get to the bottom of things.
She even eats a baby.
Yeah, there's some baby eating. It is true.
Some baby eating that, in fact, is actually Drew's own son.
Yes, that's correct. It was amazing. Owen is the name of his kid. I worked with Owen quite a bit. It was my first time having a baby on set.
Is it easy?
No, you do battle through a lot of takes where the baby is crying or fussy. But what we ended up doing, Owen's mother, Amanda, Drew's wife, was on set with us, and she and I took some alone time with Owen, with the baby, and we just played with him together until he got really comfortable with me, and then she sort of tiptoed out, like when his back was to her, and so it was just him and I, and we spent an hour just kind of bonding, him and I, and after that point, it was super smooth sailing, because he was comfortable being in my arms. It's like you have to sort of sneakily get the mother out, and then it becomes a lot more smooth.
I've spoken with Jameson Jones.
Great guy.
Yeah, and he described the film as a bit like Rear Window.
Yeah. Rear Window, I'm a huge Hitchcock fan, and early Spielberg, and those seem to be the two most common parallels that we're hearing. Rear Window, set in sort of a Jaws community.
I keep calling it The Host. I'm starting to think of The Faculty now as well. I don't know why.
Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah, there's definitely sort of like an Invasion of the Body Snatchers type of situation in this film. Which as an actor is so much fun, because you get to play a character within a character, essentially.
How did you get involved in the project?
My manager is always on the lookout. He and I both really gravitate towards really interesting, raw, different indies. And he sent me the script. At the time, the film was called Hag, was the working title, before they changed it to The Wretched. And he sent me the script and said, I think you should give this a read. It looks interesting, and these brothers, this directing duo, have promise. And he sent me the script, and I read the script and loved it. The film is a little different now, but when I got the script, it started. The very first scene was my character with her son hiking in the woods and then hitting a deer on the way home. So I just had never read anything that started the way that this film did and progressed the way that it did, and I was really excited to, as a character actor, so excited to play with what it would feel like, well, basically to play a witch that is hungry to eat children under the facade, under the skin of a human, and trying to conceal the truth. So that was just like, that's such a gift to do something like that as an actor.
Are there any sort of funny anecdotes you can share about the production of the film?
Let me think. I don't remember anything specifically funny. I mean, we laughed a lot on set. One of the things that was, I guess, painful but also funny was that we were there, we were in Michigan, we were shooting in Michigan, and it was freezing. I don't know if any other actors have mentioned this to you, but we were shooting for summer. So I would be in a tank top and shorts in 20-degree weather, and we were all trying to sort of act as if we were outside enjoying the sun whilst freezing. But that's not unusual in terms of shooting. You deal with the elements. But it was great. We had a blast shooting this film.
Let's talk a bit about you, Zarah, you yourself. What made you want to get into the industry in the first place?
I don't remember a time in my life that I didn't know that acting and music were my tools and my path. I just kind of came out knowing that. And from a very young age, it's all I've ever been interested in, and it's where I believe that my talents and my gifts naturally are. So there was never really a choice for me. It was like, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm built to do, and I've just worked really hard on it and fought really hard for it, and I love it. It picked me. It chose me.
What advice would you give to anyone wanting to pursue a career in the industry?
I love that question. My father is an actor and a comedian. One of his first breakout roles was in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. His name is Bruce Mahler. We've both had our heads cut off in horror films, coincidentally. But because my dad was a part of this business, he gave me advice that really helped shape the actor that I am, or I guess the professional that I am. One of the things he told me early on was, you have to want this. If you want to do this, you have to be prepared to claw your way through it. And he said, rejection, you're going to face a ton of rejection. You're going to get 299 no's for every one yes that you get in this industry. You have to have a thick skin and not get the success wrapped up in your self-worth. And I feel like I was prepped early on and had an understanding that this wasn't going to be some magical fantasy, being an actor. And it's kept me really strong. And the other thing I would say is, I think I started working consistently when I stopped trying to be pretty and I stopped trying to be something that I wasn't. I think to be an actor is to be fearless and ugly and messy and raw and take chances, and that's why I do it, and that has served me. So I always like to say to actresses and actors, don't be afraid to be ugly and messy and raw.
Well, I've seen something on IMDb you're going to have to explain.
Uh-oh.
And it's actually not in the IMDb filmography section. It's actually in your photo section.
Okay.
And there's two photos, and It's basically at the opening night of Rent at the Hollywood Bowl, where you met Zac Efron and Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh yeah, well I worked with them. I was in Rent at the Hollywood Bowl. Neil Patrick Harris cast me in it. So Zach actually wasn't in it. He was dating Vanessa Hudgens at the time, and Vanessa was a member of the cast. I worked under the direction of Neil Patrick Harris and with the cast for about a month.
What was it like working with Neil Patrick Harris? I mean, he's like a god in terms of comedy.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. You know, it's funny because some of the roles he's most well known for, I'll just say this, he's very different than the characters he plays. Neil is a very humble, sweet, kind, often soft-spoken person, and he was lovely to work with, very patient. It's uncommon to work on such a high-pressure, fast-paced production like that and not see the creatives crack. And he didn't. He really was even-keeled, and he is funny, naturally, but what I remember most about Neil is just how kind and calm he was.
Which obviously follows on quite nicely to, obviously, you've been in a number of different projects. Which actors and actresses have been your favourites to work with and why? And who would you like to work with in the future?
It's funny because when I'm asked who my favourite actors are, I feel like the normal response is to list celebrities. And I just want to kind of shout out to some unknowns. One of my favorite films I ever worked on is called Saltwater, and I don't believe it's even been released, but it was an indie project directed by Stephen Coombs, and I worked with some incredibly talented actors that probably not very many people have heard of. That project stands out in my mind. I've also worked with, Joe Dante. I have to mention Joe Dante, who is a name, but I did a film called Nightmare Cinema, which actually was at Fantasia the year before The Wretched. I worked under the direction of Joe Dante and Mick Garris, and working with Joe was absolutely wonderful. He's just such a treat, such a beautiful human being and artist. Also, I gotta say, The Wretched cast and crew, this was such a blood, sweat, and tears production, and I absolutely want to work with the Pierce brothers again. We just really clicked. And who would I like to work with in the future? I think, I don't have any names that come to mind specifically, but the projects that I want to work on, I just want to continue to work on really interesting, gritty, raw characters and stories and films. Yeah, something I can sink my teeth into. No pun intended with the baby eating. That's where I feel I'm headed.
I mean, the Pierce brothers are currently working on some werewolf thing.
Oh, yeah. I actually remember them talking about that with us. I remember having a conversation with them about that project.
Are there any roles that you haven't done yet that you would like to do?
I mean, so many. I never want to stop. I don't have a specific role that I feel that I haven't yet played. I just know that for me, it's about meat. I don't like... I'm not drawn to projects that are tepid or predictable. Again, like I said, it's like I want to play characters that are real people with substance and depth and faults and flaws.
Not anyone that's already existing in terms of characters.
Like specific characters?
Yeah.
Nothing comes to mind. I will say that the last few years I've been doing a lot of horror, and it has been an absolute blast. So I've been a little hungry for that. This film, The Wretched, was fun because I kind of got to play a creature, a person and a creature, under the skin of a person. And that's the first time I've really played a role like that, and it was so much fun.
For anyone who hasn't watched the film, because it is an entity which is in somebody, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it your body but Madeline's voice?
I mean, up until a certain point, obviously at the end, once we get to the climax of the film, that's Madeline. But whenever you see me walking around, breathing, and existing in that film. That's all me, voice and everything. And again, that's what was part of what was so fun about it. It was to really, as an actor, embody what that is, to be one thing under the skin of another thing. You know, how does that creature walk? How does that feel in a human body? Where are her strengths? Where is she convincing in this human suit? And where is she weaker? And how does the body move? And what point in decomposition? You know, like there's so much depth to play with just in that specificity. So it was great.
Well, I'm going to give you a 1 minute plug to plug The Wretched and anything else you've got coming up.
Oh, sure. Well, I think The Wretched's success, it's sort of speaking for itself. People are loving this movie, and it's a wonderful surprise. It's been incredibly humbling to see how excited people are about this movie and how much they're loving it, and it's bringing entertainment and joy to people during this really difficult time. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. I'm also a musician, and that's a huge part of who I am. I actually have a song. One of my original songs is in The Wretched. A little secret, in the party scene, when Ben is at the party, there's like a transition, and that's one of my songs. But my debut album is called Ophidian, Ophidian, and that's available online. And right now I'm in the process of producing 2 more original albums that are sort of a dark cinematic pop that I'm really excited to share with the world. And I think, again, you know, this is a time when art really matters as much as it ever has, maybe more so. So, yeah, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't mention music and what a gift it is for me to be able to share that with the rest of the world.
What kind of style would you say it is? I mean, you've mentioned it's dark cinematic pop.
Yeah, style. I mean, it's not very poppy for pop. A lot of people mention that it's orchestral, so it's vocals and piano. I'm a singer-songwriter, but there's strings and percussion and glockenspiel. I was inspired by Danny Elfman, a lot of composers that do scores, film scores. My producer, Leo Z, is a composer. So there are classical elements, but it's really got a dark, interesting texture.
Because I don't know why, but as soon as you said dark cinematic pop, I immediately thought of Billie Eilish.
We'd probably be grouped together. A little Billie Eilish, a little Fiona Apple, if you're familiar. That's where I come from in terms of writing. I don't write happy songs, but that's not to say that they aren't impactful and strong and fierce, you know?
Do a happy song.
I'll try and write one for you, Matt.
Oh. Well, Zarah, it's been a pleasure interviewing you.
Oh, same here.
Obviously, we'll have to get you back.
Yeah, oh my God, anytime. You let me know.
Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Matt. Have a great day.
Bye-bye now.